Guys, welcome back to part 3, okay? We're going to jump back in. We were left off talking about how people that are super empathetic, how we end up dealing with people that are narcissistic. So let's dive back into this conversation. This is our final part to wrap up episode 7. Amarri's been great. Let's get into it, guys.
Right? Ooh, there's a lot of talk of people being empaths, and empathy. You follow that, you may get some trauma that happens back in the day, right? It is a result of being keenly aware of everybody's emotions around you, right? You had to do that as a child, make sure nothing was wrong. Who knows what would happen if mommy was sad or dad was stressed? So you become keenly aware of your environment and the emotions around you as a response and a survival mechanism, right? So when people are like, oh, I'm highly empathetic, I'm like, right? And so, yeah, too much empathy can be maladaptive, right? Too much empathy can be maladaptive, as in the case with a narcissistic relationship, right? Too much empathy can cause someone just to stay stuck where they are. A lot of people don't like to talk about this in therapy, but I'm going to say it as a therapist. If I exhibit too much empathy, we're never going to get to a place of change, right? If I don't challenge you, right? If I'm just constantly like, oh yeah, I can see how you see it that way and you feel that way, and yeah, okay. Then, there's a lot of therapists that will do that, and they'll take your money. You'll be in therapy 5, 6, 7 years, working on the same ish, right? So empathy can end up being maladaptive, right? Because it just keeps us a little bit stuck. Too much rationalizing, too much understanding of the experience can be detrimental, especially if you want to transform and change and get better and evolve, right?
Yeah, I was just going to say briefly, I can speak from personal experience of being too empathetic and how at some point you feel unappreciated by everyone. And then it starts to become like victimization until you realize like, no, wait a minute. I was the one that continued to allow. Now, first of all, that shift in itself is a big one, I feel, to realize like, because you were made to feel like you had to. And I think it deals a lot of factors for me. I'm the oldest of 5 kids, right? Like I was probably the most responsible, blah, blah, blah. Like you said, worried about my family's, people's emotions, etc. And you do start to over rationalize. I'm very much in my head often, right? And I had to start being like, no, that very first time, just random Ricky disrespected me. He meant to disrespect that first time. It wasn't because he had a hard life. It wasn't because, like he's just disrespectful, right? But when you over rationalize, you really work to explain away people's behaviors. And then you start to actually think that you're the problem. So you're often hyper focused on yourself, how you're messing something up, how you're the reason why, right? And I think that's also part of victimization. And I could be explaining it wrong, but for me, I felt like I was hyper focused on myself and what I was doing wrong, while also like being victimized, because I felt like, well, how do I fix it? I'm like bending every way like Gumby, and none of these things are still working. But it was because, first and foremost, that wasn't my audience or my crowd, right? I needed to stop trying to form myself into this mighty Morphin Power Ranger of a person that could, do all things for all people and understand it's okay to be disliked. But I think that went back to children being seen and not heard, being appeasing, not ever embarrassing. And I think a lot of that stemmed from any little mistake, and you were chastised like corporal punishment in a lot of Black households. And it's like, did I ever lie, cheat, steal, get caught? No, it'll be simple stuff like you were talking in class again, punishment for a month, like things where you're like, damn, you know what I'm saying? Like, and one thing I always ask, I've asked Brooke this before, like, how much more do you think we would have developed and flowered had our parents fed our curiosity, fed our questions, right? Like, put some sunlight and love into it instead of being like, be quiet, don't sit down, stop asking questions. I'm not your equal. I'm not your friend. I'm not your. I want to see what happens if you put sunlight on it. So, like you said, my parents are very like, what's this nouveau riche, hippy dippy parenting stuff that you're doing? And I said, you know what? I realized I could repeat what you all did, but then I couldn't blame you or spank you or chastise you if it doesn't work out. So I'm gonna try this new thing I'm doing. And if I mess it up, I know where I can correct. I know where I can adjust and change things. But also, if it turns out well, I expect you guys to notate that as well. You know what?
I'm not. It's gonna turn out well, and you will get your acknowledgement, right? So I say that, my mom is total classic narcissist. It's unfortunate. I love her, have a great relationship, but it is what it is, right? And you're not gonna get any acknowledgement of, she's not gonna acknowledge her wrongdoing, whatever she could have did, whatever. But one Mother's Day, she gave me a Mother's Day card. I think my son must have been maybe 7 or 8. She gave me a Mother's Day card. I kept that Mother's Day card because it was the only acknowledgement I'll ever get. And it said something like, now it was the card, wasn't in her handwriting, but it was the card's message, Hallmark. And it said something like, Happy Mother's Day to a great mother, showing us all how it's done. And I was like, oh, this, okay, right? This is all I'm going to get, right? But it was enough, right? Because part of dealing with a narcissist is knowing your truth, what the truth is, what your experience is. They're going to accuse you of, oh, you a bad mom. You should have did this. You should have did that. Why didn't you do this? Right? You got to know your truth, not explain it, because then you're giving them the supply. That's what they want. You got to just shut up and know your truth. It is hard. It is hard work, but you just got, that's not true. Let me not even react because I know it's not true. Right? And so I don't know where I was going with this. I lost my point, but that kind of like knowing. And so I think, when your parents or, my mom used to make, oh yeah, well, I would have did this and I would have did this. And I just used to in my mind be like, yeah, we know what you would do. We know exactly what you would do. Right? That's exactly why I'm not doing it. I don't say that, right? Just deal with my son is 20 years old, right? He is a sophomore in college. He is the most empathetic, accountable, self-aware young adult. He amazes me. And I realize the lessons that his dad was always, his dad had a different personality disorder, not narcissist, but different one. But, right? Loving, being attuned to your child, teaching them about emotions, helping them to express emotions, helping them to understand what love is and how they can expect the standard of care for a young Black man, right? The standard of care, right? How not to be abused, what love looks like, right? All of those things. And being accountable and understanding that, feelings is part of it. They're valid. They're not always accurate and factual. They're valid. They won't always change things, right? And it's your responsibility, not anybody else's, to be happy. Not anybody else's responsibility, right? So giving those lessons, it'll all pay off. And you will see. We should have did our toast to that.
Yes, I want to, because we talk about that, a lot. And I just want to thank you for that. Just the reassurance, because like that's the path that Dozier and I both are on. And it's not always easy. It's so easy to revert back to what you are used to, what feels normal to you. Especially when you're dealing with a narcissistic co-parent or one with narcissistic traits. It is so hard to not get caught up in the frustrations, in the emotions of that, and not take it out on your child, or have a cap on your patience, and just the inability to balance it all. But I need those constant reminders because I always say, we only get one shot at raising our kids, and we don't get a do-over. And childhood is the shortest span of your life, but it is the most important because it sets you up, and the habits, the patterns, and the traits you possess set you up for the rest of your life. So thank you for that constant reminder. Like, you really have to shut everything else out. You have to literally, I was a person that always cared so much about what other people thought. Well, I hope they don't think this. Now I'm like, I don't care who thinks what. Because guess what? Whether you feel like you've done right or wrong, people are going to have their opinion no matter what. So I'd rather do what I know is right, what's best for my child. And I could care less what anyone else thinks, whether it be the co-parent, their family, your parent, whoever. It's just like, not to say that you can't pick up. You learn how to filter out the advice, right? You know who you can lean on for the, sound advice, and you know how to just let some things come in and out, just let it flow. Okay. I hear you. And if it's not for the path that you're on with your child, you just ignore it and move it right along.
And I just want to ask that self-awareness piece is so key when you say, like, we have to take some of the emotion out of the parenting, right? We have to be self-aware, like, I'm stressed out. I need to take a mommy minute, right? And then also making mistakes, right? We have to let children see failure and see our failures, right? We have to be able to apologize to our child and say, you know what? Mommy was wrong for that. I cut you off. I didn't listen to your side. I got upset. And I just gave you your punishment without really hearing you out. And now that I've thought about it and I've taken a moment to process, I've realized that was wrong and I want to apologize to you. Right? That's a loving act, right? Shouldn't children come to expect people to apologize when they do wrong? Right? And so we have to, be able to do that. That's being able to show that accountability. Right? And so there were 3 phrases that I really, focus on that are difficult in the human experience. And so I wanted my son to be able to express them. I love you, right? It doesn't need to be a big deal to say I love you. You feel it, you love someone, say it. And it's not just saying it in that way. I love you can also be, I'm proud of you, right? I admire you, right? You inspire me. But being able to share, feelings of love, apologizing, I'm sorry. We got to get better at just apologizing. Let's normalize, oh, you didn't mean to do that? Okay. I took it this way. You didn't mean it that way. Let's move on. Let's learn from it. Let's just apologize, make restitution, acknowledge the hurt, right? Say how we're not going to do it again, right? Something called the 5-point apology. Be genuine about it, right? And then, I need help. Being able to receive help, ask for help, utilize your resources. When my son was going to college, like, yo, you got a lot of resources. There should be no reason why you fail. Now, if you fail and you've used all your resources and you asked people for help and you went to your professors and you used your counselors and you used your tutors and you used your coaches and you went to the financial aid, okay. But if you just failing and you haven't used your resources and you haven't opened your mouth and asked for help, right? You haven't sought resources, right? And also in line with asking for help is being able to receive help, because sometimes help is offered. We can't be so self-reliant, right? Independent, yes, independent of thought, independent to make decisions, right? Independent on all of those things, but not self-reliant. I got to do everything myself. I have to figure it out myself, right? No, we need people. We have to learn how to work with people and to receive the help that people offer sometimes, right? So those are like 3 things that I like have focused on in terms of also incorporating into the parenting through modeling that, right? Modeling that. One of the biggest compliments my son gave me probably, is that, he thanked me for teaching him how to be happy and to make himself happy. And that is more than anything. Yeah. Right. So when he sends me pictures of him grounding and putting his feet in the earth, right, this weekend. Yes, right? Like, I'm like, yo, this is what I'm like. Talk about self-aware. That was the seed that we had planted weeks ago, and he's doing his earthing and his grounding, right? When he sends me his journaling and his reflections and how he's been doing affirmations, right? Like, yeah, he received the help. He received the resources. He knows what he needs to do. Being self-aware. I need to get myself together right now. This is what I need, right? So that's important.
I just wanted to say, you said a big thing that I think should resonate, that was different from our parents' generation to ours, right? Is modeling. That's something that I said to my mother. I said, the best way for you to have shown me, because I said, you taught me I joke with her often, right? I said, you told me all these things. No, smacking when you eat, no elbows on the table. I said, but then I watch you do the complete opposite. And so what is the purpose of these lessons, right? You teach me respect. You teach me. And so the thing that I will say is, maybe in the last 3 to 5 years, I probably have become a bit of a wig snatcher when it comes to my mother, but I always do it, in love, right? Because she's the baby child. Brooke knows how I feel about baby children. I love them, but I also want to strangle them most times because they have this, I'm jealous of their view though. It's very unique, right? The baby only view is like this beautiful, magical, mythical place because they've been allowed to just, like saunter around freely. Whereas the older child is like very regimented, very required. They think that we're mean, but it's like, I didn't have the privilege to saunter and wander and whatever. And so my mother and I clash often because she is the baby and like almost only gets like 25 years in between, right? And I am the oldest of 5. And so I told her, I said, the way that I want to teach my son, most people think is restricted. I don't listen to music with cursing around him. Right? I don't dance and shake my behind and wear salacious clothing around him. I don't do several things around him. Like you said, I apologize and I do the 5-point apology, right? Why am I apologizing? What did I notice? How am I going to improve it for the future? And if I do it again, please let me know quickly, right? And those other things you said, like things that people think are weird, I ground, right? We do affirmations. I meditate. Him and I take breaths together. Things that people think are weird now, because the thing is, at least this is what people say often. You only have so many years to input data, right, into their machine. And after a certain time, they're projecting outwardly. So I want that projection to be one, of a fully functional, healthy, right, societal gentleman. And so I start calling him sir as a young man, right? I started, calling him a gentleman as a very young man, like all those things.
And what about, just even saying please and thank you and I appreciate. Yeah, it's your chore to take out the trash, but we can say, thank you for taking out the trash. I appreciate how you took out the trash and I didn't even have to ask you. I love how you cleaned up your room. Even though you're on punishment and I wouldn't let you go to the party, I appreciate how you cleaned up your room thoroughly. It looks really nice and neat in here. And that's even more impressive because I know how disappointed you are not being able to go. Addressing those things. We can be polite, right? Because here's the thing. And I had to get to the point where, I told my son, because some of those years, I'll say 12, 15, whew, those are hard years. But, some of those years, and I got to the point where I'm like, if I have to yell at you, threaten you, right, beat on you to get you to do something, that you should be doing for yourself or for this household, you're going to end up in the wrong place. Okay? Because there's a place for you that with open arms is open 365 days, 24/7, 7 days a week. Well, they'll yell at you. They'll beat on you, right? To get you to comply, right? It's called prison. So I should be able to ask you nicely. I should be able to put on the behavioral chart or explain to you why you have these chores. You know why you have these chores, the importance of doing X, Y, and Z. And then if you don't do it, I should be able to come and remind you, and you get up and do it. Right? And I should be able to say that in a nice, respectful tone, not yelling, not disrespectful, because, that's what you should come to expect. And if you need to be disrespected and yelled at and whatever, then I'm training you for the wrong place. I'm training you to be the wrong type of man. That's not what you want to be. Right? So, and you're right. Some people will say, well, that's the gentle parenting. Okay. So why are we scuffing at gentle parenting, but corporal punishment is just okay?
So I know we kind of got I think children are just a very passionate subject, but I think I do want to pull us back into the thread. My final thought or question is an exit strategy, right? What is a safe and practical way to exit to try to circumnavigate retaliation or manipulation?
It's like you're not gonna be one step ahead of the, it's just really hard to understand and to plan. I think, your plan should definitely include securing finances, right? Gathering important documents, finding safe accommodations beforehand, and really, consulting, having legal support to manage potential retaliation. There are many lawyers, it's not necessarily that you need to hire them, but that will offer, consultation, right? And even help you, right? But the thing is, you have to be really concise, less emotional. You can't go in these, this happened, and help me. You got to be concise. Like, look, this is what we're dealing with. This is how the finances have been handled. This is what I want. How do I get there? What do I need to watch out for? Do I have any, legal responsibilities, right? Because there's certain things you can't just kick somebody out nowadays, right? There's squatter rights and all these things. And if they get mail there, so you got to be smart, right? Use legal aid, get some consultations, maybe even, from people that have done it, but just, secure finances. I think if it's something where, your partner, has access to your job, that's so important, right? Because if, your abuser comes to your job and, starts hassling and heckling you there, they may say it's just, cheaper to just cut you loose, right? So you may have to go to your job and do some appropriate disclosure and let them know. You may have to get practitioners involved if you, your doctor, your therapist, if you need time off work, some FMLA hours so that you can go to court, right? So that you can go to your therapeutic appointments, and it not, impact your job. So really, securing your finances is making sure that however you're making money, cannot be affected, by your partner. Right. And so that can be difficult depending on, what the situation is.
I think those are all great resources. And like you said, you could plan all those things and still, it's hard to, I feel like it's hard to get a step ahead. Like you said, the narrative will change, the game will change, but those are all great resources.
Yeah.
So Brooke, did you want to go into the reflection for the day, or?
We have to kind of wrap it up. I'm late for my 11 o'clock set.
Okay. So what we're going to do is just bring you on by yourself, just to kind of give a quick reflective and let people know how they can get in contact with you if they need your services. So I'm just going to ask a quick question, go into that. I'm going to take us out and let you go up by yourself to say that. We'll toast to get out of here. Thank you for watching, and we'll be done.
Okay.
So just wrapping it up here. Thank you for all
of that. I feel like this has been a very powerful conversation, and I hope that our viewers can get everything they need from this. Just to summarize really quickly, what would be your top 3 things that you would tell someone that is in this space of co-parenting with a narcissist, or either, trying to break away from one?
I think, in short, it's all about clear communication, solid boundaries, maintaining your cool, right? And, it's less about winning against them, proving your point, outing them as a narcissist. And it's more about winning for your peace and your children's well-being. And, just keep your eye on the prize, and which is, a harmonious life for you and your kids.
All right, let our viewers know how they can get in touch with you if they need your services.
Okay, if you would like to get in touch with me, you can go to Amarri Simms, LMFT.com. That's Amarri Simms, LMFT.com. That's my personal website. You can email me through there. I'm also on Psychology Today as well, and you can reach out to me through that platform. My Instagram is Amarri Vibes, VIBES. And my TikTok is pretty.dope.soul. So you can reach me on the TikTok platform as well.
Wrap this thing up. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you again, Amarri, so much. Took a lot to make this happen, but we made it.
Yes, thank you
So
very
let's
much.
go and get out of here. Cheers to this powerful conversation. And in hopes that this helps and inspires someone that needs it. All right, let's get out of here, ladies. Thank you.